with regards to the Delhi car blast probe. First pictures of the Delhi blast co-conspirators, Dr. Shaheen and Dr. Muzammil together. We are bringing to you on your channel, CNN News 18. They are seen in this picture together, taking delivery of the car Brezza used in the Delhi car blast case. This was, remember, bought on 25th of September, and this very image in fact validates that piece of information for you. In this picture you can see Dr. Muzammil and Dr. Shaheen accompanying Dr. Muzammil and taking the delivery of that car Brezza, which was used in the Delhi car blast case. It was purchased on 25th of September. That image now coming to the forefront, a very crucial and significant piece of evidence for the security forces, particularly for the NIA. Let's quickly go across to Anshul, who's joining me on the broadcast with more details. Anshul, what can you tell us about the purchase of this Brezza? Where was it made, and how far have security agencies been able to crack down the role of this entire car in the Delhi car blast case?
Well, yes, a few pertinent things that should be noted in this picture. The first thing is that both Muzammil and Shahina had taken the delivery of this Brezza vehicle. This Brezza vehicle was bought on the 25th of September 2025 itself. That is just a month and 15 days prior to the blast that happened out here in the national capital on 10/11. Another very important thing to note is that the finance of this car was done in all cash. There were no loans that were given. In fact, a cash payment of 11-12 lakh rupees was handed over directly to the showroom in Faridabad to take the ownership of the vehicle. Another very important point is that this vehicle that was bought was yet again a CNG vehicle that was bought. We saw what happened with the CNG laden I-20 and how once the explosions happened inside that vehicle, how eventually it resulted in a massive fire that happened over there. So somewhere or the other, all these people were planning to actually pinpoint these CNG vehicles so that the chemicals that they have, the ammonium nitrate and TNTP that they have, once that blast happens, the impact could be maximized. So all this was being planned and the entire route was being charted out. The vehicles were being handpicked. Investments were being made on such things such as vehicles, so that simultaneous attack could happen at different places across the national capital and parts of North India and Northern Uttar Pradesh as well. So definitely this is a sinister plan that has come to the fore, and the manner in which this photo has been accessed out here by CNN News 18. This clearly states that both Muzammil and Shahina were involved in taking the delivery of this vehicle. To get their hands on the vehicle quickly, they made sure that the payment was done in cash, and they also made sure that they bought a CNG vehicle. So if at all it is required to be used to carry out blasts.
So two very critical points shared by you over there, Anshul. Let me quickly bring in Eshan also, who's joining us on the broadcast. So taking that point forward, Eshan, that has just been made by Anshul. One, that this could, the fact that this was a CNG vehicle. Secondly, the payment was done in hard, full cash. What does that also speak of the kind of origin and source of funding? Will security agencies now also be probing the source of funding?
Of course, from the very first day, that's probing the source of the funding, and second, that giving money in all cash means no trails, leaving no trails behind, because any digital transaction can be traced back. If you collect money, that means they must have been collecting money in hard cash for any kind of transaction or for any kind of purchasing of any vehicle, any ammunition, anything that they have purchased must have been done in cash, because they understand, they are highly professionals, they understand that any transaction made digitally may involve the lens of agencies, and they could have uncovered it very soon, even before they could have set the plan rolling. So that's why all the transactions have been made in cash, so that there's no digital trail, and they must be aware about the fact that if they go for paying it online, that means that online transactions will be checked, who all paid. There'll be further people who could have been questioned. Generally, when you buy a vehicle, you provide a check or you do a digital transaction. Very less now people pay everything in cash. But since this module was functioning in a very discreet way, the money was something which has been investigated from the very first day since the module was busted. This means that the money that was being collected for charitable purpose was actually being used for these activities. And now everyone who has given money in large quantity to them for charitable trust may also come under scanner, be the professionals, because police indicated that it were the professionals who were giving and passing on the money to them as part of the charity, and they were trying to collect money in the name of charity. But now, when they unearthed the entire modus operandi, they were able to see that why this money was being collected in cash and why this money was being collected for charity. It was going for radicalization, for purchasing of all these equipments and vehicles for the J to carry out bombings in Delhi, which they could not do because possibly the busting was done prior to that plan.
Let me quickly take that forward with Anshul as well. Anshul, when we are talking about the purchase of this car, is this also going to take Enforcement Directorate and other probe agencies back to the funding of, say, the 20 lakh rupees that had been pooled in by the doctors via Hawala transactions?
Well, yes, that is one angle that will eventually be probed by the Enforcement Directorate, and that will be looked into by the Enforcement Directorate. The prima facie or the initial investigation into this entire matter of how this money was pooled in and what kind of Hawala transactions was done has already started by the Enforcement Directorate. But the Enforcement Directorate is still in the process of getting in more details so that a larger case of probably FEMA that could be made out from the transactions, if at all any has been made from outside the boundaries of the country, that could be looked into. So the preliminary investigation into the funding of all these white-collar terrorists is already being done separately by the Enforcement Directorate. On the other hand, the raids that are happening today or are being carried out by the Enforcement Directorate, this is regarding to the overall funding of the Al-Falah University, and the Enforcement Directorate has already found in the preliminary investigation that it had carried out that the documents are not in tandem or are not in sequence with that is required that is required by the mandated law. The EPF, the HR documents that are required, that is not according to the law. The funding details that should have been present with the university, those funding details are very sketchy. 9 shell companies is what has been used to transfer funds to the Al-Falah University. The directors of these nine companies are said to be the same person itself. So somewhere or the other, the Al-Falah University was also trying to shield its funding or the way in which it was getting funded, and that is what has been initially been exposed by the Enforcement Directorate. At this point in time, more searches are being conducted, more documents are being recovered by the Enforcement Directorate, as it remains to be seen what kind of funding and how much funding was received by Al-Falah University specifically over the last 10 to 12 years.
Let me quickly take that forward with Ishan as well. Ishan, if we talk about Hawala transaction, foreign funding, initially names of Qatar, Turkey were also doing the rounds. Are probe agencies also looking at the foreign angles when it comes to this kind of illicit funding?
Well, absolutely, because they have a travel history. They have been to Turkey, and one of those who's been under tight scanner and lens is the brother of Dr. Adil, who is also being looked at, and he is outside India. So it's very much possible that they might have also brought in some cash from outside, and there must be Hawala transaction that might have happened through Hawala route. They could have gotten money. But over the years, there has been a tight scrutiny by the government and the security agencies on the Hawala routes and trying to unearth the entire funding channels. But it's very hard to eliminate such funding channels at this pace, and possibly if there is a money that has come from outside, those transactions will be checked, because it will not only help India build case regarding any of those who are outside and trying to funnel and also to provide logistical support in terms of money and helping them, asking them what to procure. So that will help India to bring any citizen who is outside India back to the country and help to build a case against them, because all of these will also be part of a concrete investigation that the NIA will build, because based on these investigations, that's when the case will be built and then taken forward with other countries if there is any person hiding there. Because yesterday, if you recall Amit Shah's statement, he said that any person guilty, be it in the country or outside, he will be facing the law, he'll be brought back. So these concrete evidences, be it the Hawala funding, be it the money transaction, be it the meeting that have allegedly taken place in Turkey, all of them will come under part of the investigation, because it's too early. But police had earlier, first statement the police had made it very clear that they have been also getting money by saying that they are going to use that money for the charitable and funding of poor people in India.
All right, many thanks to you, Ishan and Anshul, for bringing us all those breaking inputs on that news story. We will keep coming back to the latest developments that take place as far as the probe is concerned.